Yeah, actually the contrast couldn't be more stark. So now we have the G20 meeting in Toronto, a city which has basically been turned into an armed camp for any of its citizens who actually live there, to the tune of £1 billion, slightly less than $1 billion. And we were led to believe that the G20 is just, a debating society which has no influence over anything. This might be true for the G20, but it certainly isn't true for the G8, which are part of the G20, I might add. So what we have here is a situation in where the elites of these various nations feel it necessary to put a security apparatus in place to the tune of $1 billion to keep themselves secure. And this is just basically a temporary measure, you might say. It's a drop in the bucket. They feel at this point so threatened by the general populations everywhere that they have to mount a $1 billion security operation in the city of Toronto, shutting down most businesses, shutting down the university, basically laying the entire city lame, while proclaiming to be pro-business and pro-small business, I might add. And in the process of this, basically pissing everybody off. And then in your national media, you will see that, oh, well, we had some disruptors, some protesters. Oh my gosh, some trash cans were overturned. Some people were arrested because some little bomb was found somewhere. These sorts of security measures aren't mounted for nothing, because basically anybody who mounts this kind of, let's say, drawbridge is basically afraid of the population at large. So that's what's happening. The population needs to be kept at bay. Heaven forbid they don't, have anything serious to say. So keep them out, keep the rabble-rousers out. You little people will get your voice when it comes to be your turn. That's the message. And everyone who talks out of turn, even shows up on a public street, is apt to be arrested and thrown in some sort of a cage like an animal, and then is charged with a misdemeanor or something else, and then the powers at large will work it out later, you see. So basically this is where it's all headed. People who actually do want to mount peaceful protests are being kept out of the zones, because you see, you need to have a permit to protest now. You can't even protest on public grounds, because the public grounds have now been declared private. And if you overstep those grounds, then you're subject to arrest. Of course, this is also happening in the United States, all over the place, not just here, in other countries as well. And so it just sort of becomes the accepted norm for people to follow this. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all to follow this. But know for sure that a Mr. Media record on your I suppose official record is not necessarily going to prevent you from holding higher office. In fact, people who have been convicted of high crimes, felonies in fact, are now the spokespersons for TV networks or talk shows here in the United States. It's like everything is turned around, you know. Oliver North can have his talk show, and various other convicted criminals can have their talk shows on various networks, you know, unabated. People actually listen to these folks and say, wow, they've got something to say. And Jeff Skilling, the Enron guy, according to our own Supreme Court, is now getting a free ride on several fraud charges because he didn't actually, according to their opinion, commit that kind of fraud. So that's what we're dealing with here. Basically, if you want to stand up for the right thing, you're going to be put in the cage. And if you want to be neutral, you may somehow skirt away, but not always. It's kind of like 1932 Germany, when comics like Jon Stewart were still able to get it out there, to point out the hypocrisy. And you know, everybody said it's just great. And I just love Jon Stewart. I just love it. And then that Jon Stewart was silenced in 1932 or 33. And nobody was laughing after that.